Did you make $1 million off an investment most people hate? Surprisingly, yes. Let's break down unusual investments and whether they actually make sense. This first investment is one of the most despised on the internet because people have always looked for new ways to make money, from filling their cellars with wine, keeping figurines in their boxes, or hoarding obscene quantities of beanie babies. The latest move is virtual land, and I see where the hate comes from. It's right there in the name. It sounds like it means fake land.
Dan, someone paid $450,000 to be virtual neighbors with which celebrity?
Kanye.
No. Snoop Dogg. Do you know any Snoop Dogg lyrics?
I could probably quote some. Smoke weed every day.
But is virtual land a scam, or is it a genuine real estate opportunity to get a plot in the metaverse, the real estate of the future? Virtual land is in short supply, and this pushes prices sky high. Yeah, virtual land is limited, just like real land. However, unlike real land, metaverse land is purposely limited to create scarcity. But on the other hand, it kind of isn't limited because the metaverse isn't a single space. There are many metaverses being built. So an investment here is not only betting that people will use the metaverse, but you're also betting on which metaverse will have a strong future. Now, there is something else virtual land has in common with real land. Location. Location, quality of your neighbors, and I don't know, whether there's an HOA massively affects price. No one wants a patch of land in the middle of nowhere. Well, some people do, but prices aren't as high in the middle of nowhere. The most expensive plots in the metaverse are next to celebrities and where there's high traffic. But is all of this worth it? It's a lot like asking, is regular land worth it? Sure, but the truth is, some land sucks. The most obvious way to make money with virtual land is to buy and sell it. There are stories all over people getting 4 and 5 times their money doing exactly that, and it goes deeper. People are now leasing virtual land to make money, hosting virtual parties, creating art galleries, virtual stores, restaurants, amusement parks. But of course, to do any of this, you need land that's actually visited. Location. So we know it's totally possible to make money, but does it really make sense? I get the reason why digital ownership of space is a thing. I see the metaverse getting bigger and bigger as we all basically live our lives online already. But it seems to me like we're taking rules from the physical world and just plunking them down in the digital world. But it's digital. There's no reason there can't be a digital skyscraper with 1 million condos in it, taking away scarcity and location constraints, and probably giving a better user experience at the same time. I mean, YouTube doesn't say, sorry, only 50,000 people can view this video because that's how many people fit in a stadium and that's just how we do things. It just doesn't work that way. I think the winning metaverse will likely have a focus on abundance, not scarcity. The current metaverses are built to be investment vehicles, not a step forward in technology, which is fine. I mean, maybe I'll even invest in one someday. Moving on, it's an unusual asset with little intrinsic value that people pay millions for, and there's a connection to a world-famous music icon. Am I still talking about virtual land? No. What could be further from virtual plots of land selling for millions of bucks than the humble postage stamp selling for millions of bucks? Could the history of stamp collecting show us the future of the metaverse? People have been collecting stamps since the 19th century. The official term for this, which I just learned, is volatile, which basically translates to love, which is tax-free. And despite that, you still have to pay capital gains tax on your stamp collection. But anyways, this market is dominated by a few stamps worth millions. These notable stamps include the earliest ones issued and those with kind of quirky errors on them. But what's interesting is there are still loads of lower value stamps that are relatively easy to buy and prices generally grow at a good rate. The space is split between hobbyists and investors, and Freddie Mercury. Seriously. First, what are the positives about investing in stamps? Well, this is an established field where you can grow your cash if you're diligent. The downside, you need to spend quite a bit of time to become an expert if you're going to spot the most valuable stamps, like penny blacks, headless queens, and Sicilian errors of color. Okay, maybe I made one of those names up, but that was a test. You need to be able to spot liars if you want to get into the stamp world. This is a ruthless world. I've seen it suggested that stamps have risen in value by 15% annually. However, it's difficult to work out average returns because every stamp gains value at different rates and the market is skewed by these stamp whales. I'm not sure if stamp whale is even a thing, but we're just going to use that name. This stamp whale has the biggest collection of upside down stamps. Now, what in the world does Freddie Mercury have to do with stamp collecting? 2 things. He collected stamps as a kid, and his collection was then sold for charity, and he appeared on a very controversial stamp. Yes, there can be drama in the stamp world. In 1999, a British stamp rocked the philately ecosystem when it featured Queen rather than the Queen. But this wasn't the issue. The problem is you're supposed to either be dead or a royal to appear on a stamp. The drummer, who is very much alive, can be seen in the background of this contentious stamp. This stamp world was set on fire.
How much is the controversial Freddie Mercury? How much is the controversial Freddie Mercury stamp worth today? A, $2, B, $500,000, C, $2.7 million, D, $5.6 million.
C, the 2.7 million?
$2.
Now the question is, will stamp collections really be worth more in the future? I mean, we all have email now. And that's the thing about collectibles. We really don't know. The classics will always have some value to other collectors, but the value of any stamp is based on factors like backstory, condition, and rarity. The most valuable stamp ever sold fetched $9 million, but that was thanks mostly to the story behind it. The stamp itself looks a bit like a used Band-Aid. Anyways, a 12-year-old Scottish schoolboy discovered this 1-cent stamp and sold it for the equivalent of $10. And that grew in value over the years. Eventually, 3 kings bid on it, setting a world record stamp price. And that's how I would sum up this unusual way of investing. It's only worth doing if you have a passion for collecting and the time to investigate what makes each one worth money. Just like virtual land, you shouldn't be fooled by news stories about massive sales that are a tiny fraction of the overall market. Most investors grind away with small sales, winning on some and losing on others. Now, I don't know how to transition out of this segment, so I'm just going to ask a question instead. Who makes money when you listen to Spotify or buy a song? It isn't always the person who actually created the song. And this is why 2 of the biggest stars in the music industry stopped talking to one another. Before looking at that feud, let's get the basics covered. Music royalties have become an increasingly popular asset class for a few major reasons. Greater stability thanks to streaming. It's not correlated to other types of investments, so you get to diversify. And music sales aren't affected by overall economic conditions. If you pick the right song, you'll get sweet reoccurring income year after year. Now, it isn't all perfect though, because songs make a fraction of a cent per listen. If your songs bomb, you'll be lucky to scrape together even a single dollar. Or if you go full on Sweet Caroline, you'll make $500,000 a year. So the right songs make a killing, as Paul McCartney learned the hard way when he worked with Michael Jackson. Being a friendly sort of ex-Beatle, Paul told Michael the massive benefits of owning the rights to popular song catalogs. So the King of Pop did what any ruthless capitalist would do. He went out and bought the rights to Beatles songs, written by McCartney. This turned their relationship a bit sour. Now, how much could you earn from royalties? Most new songs peak in the first year and then decline rapidly before reaching a level of stability about 5 years later. But a classic pays out year after year, and the market is growing. So how do you get started? You can actually buy fractional shares of music, or you could join a fund that invests within the space.
What is the most profitable song of all time?
Probably the ABCs.
Right idea. You want a second guess?
I Believe I Can Fly, because it's inspirational.
It's Happy Birthday.
I believe.
Now, most songs don't make happy birthday level cash, but this can be a really solid investment that's available at basically any investment size. And the best part is that this may be a rare investment area where you could actually have a passion for the subject you're investing in. Now, people are up in arms over the latest art investments, but it's not about cows being cut in half or destroying artifacts. It's digital art. But why does it make people so angry? And how is it linked to the world of cryptocurrencies? Can $69 million for an NFT possibly be justified? Maybe it can. But can you also justify $450 million for a painting that may or may not be a Da Vinci? Art investments just don't play by the same rules, and I'll show you in a minute how good that fruity investment turned out. The value of art is entirely subjective. It makes a statement, and it's a status symbol that only certain people can afford. Art being controversial or regarded as stupid actually makes it more valuable. That expensive banana has already been eaten, so it has no value now. But the funny thing is, buying the world's most expensive banana and then eating it is also kind of art. So yeah, art pieces aren't based on real value or any practical uses that it could have. Spending millions on an NFT isn't any more or less stupid than buying infamous pieces of art. Do I think Beeple's work is worth $69 million? No. Would I pay thousands of dollars for a banana? Probably not. If you would, then DM me. I can probably hook you up. The thing about digital art is it doesn't matter if you like it or not. It's the ultimate status symbol. People want to hold up their phone and say, hey, I just spent $200K on a JPEG. LOL. But that doesn't mean that it's always a good investment. It can be incredibly risky and volatile. Look at Bored Ape NFTs. So many famous people own them, they're almost like Picassos or Rembrandts at this point, yet prices can be all over the place from month to month. What are they really worth? No one really knows until someone buys one. If all those millionaires decide to move on to something else, those apes will lose value. But to be honest, apes are probably here to stay, at least for a while. Either way, I think that this is just the beginning. Boring old NFT pictures are just too easy now, and we'll see much more creativity flow into the space because of that. And again, the tech makes sense. Verifiable digital ownership is absolutely needed in a digital world. The most consistent strategy I've seen to make money with NFTs is to spend your time in Discord servers grabbing new projects right when they launch.
What's it called when you publish an NFT to the blockchain?
Is that minting or?
That's right. What video should people watch next?
I like the one about the Petro.